Hi, my name's Gemma and I am a calligraphy business owner, and my business is a year old. I have learned so much since launching my website last year, and I'm excited to share my learnings with you in this video. I think this might be a two-part series because I want to go a bit more in depth with each learning. So there will be 12 learnings in total, 6 in this video and 6 in the next video. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see everything I've learned. Right, let's get started. Number 1, you will receive unsolicited advice. Last year, when I launched my business website, people suddenly started popping up to let me know that I was doing business wrong. I was charging too much. I wasn't. I was offering the wrong thing and that they wouldn't buy it, so I should change what I was offering. Now, at the time, this upset me. I was feeling quite vulnerable. I was putting myself out there business-wise, and I just felt knocked down straight away. And I felt a mixture of hurt and kind of anger. But then I just realized that the person that messaged me this didn't mean to be hurtful. They were trying to help, but they're not my ideal customer. So sometimes you'll receive feedback that isn't helpful, but you have to keep in mind that they're not the customer for you, and you don't have to take their feedback on board. They're not always correct. So I recommend trusting your instinct, and yeah, you've got this. Now, this wasn't the only piece of unsolicited advice I received. In fact, I received a lot of unsolicited advice, particularly once I let people know that I was leaving my job to do calligraphy full time. And I'm sure it won't be the last piece of unsolicited advice I receive, but you just kind of need to accept that it's part of being a business owner, and like I said, you do not have to take these pieces of advice on board. It's up to you. What I did learn from this as well, not just that you need to trust your intuition, but also that community is particularly important with this aspect, because they help keep you focused when you receive a knockback, and they bring you back up and keep you on track with your pricing and your niche. Number 2, hand cramps are not fun. Now, this should go without saying, but last year when I started taking commissions, I did not appreciate how long commissions took, and I ended up doing some rushed commissions. I was honestly sat down for around 8 hours writing calligraphy, and I had severe hand cramps. It was very painful, but because I had taken money for these commissions and I'd accepted to get them up by a certain date, I pushed through. It was a horrible experience and I would not recommend it. So moving forward, I would definitely have a better understanding of not only how long things took, but based on that knowledge, if I knew that it was going to be too tight a timeline, I would probably reject the work or charge way, way more. I think generally I would turn down the work. I don't think being in pain is worth the money. And kind of on a commission related note, it's not just hand cramps that you need to keep in mind. There was one time where I've been working on a piece for 8 hours straight. I had pushed through the hand cramps. I was almost there. I was so close. And the second from last sentence, I added a random word. Now, I didn't want to put this forward to the customer without letting them know. So I asked whether they would accept it or not. It did make sense in context, but it wasn't exactly what they asked for, and they rejected it. And that's their right to do so. It wasn't exactly how they'd asked, but to say I cried, yeah, I did cry a bit that night. And I think that was a steep learning curve, but it's part of, understanding what you want your niche to be. So I think that made me understand that I didn't want commissions to be my main source of income. I would take some here and there, but I didn't want to have to deal with that stress and the hand cramps. And so that was my learning from commissions. Number 3, sometimes I can't work on my business, and that is okay. If I have stuff going on in my personal life that's draining my energy, it's okay for me not to work on my business. So for example, earlier this year, I returned to my 9 to 5 after 9 months off, and it was a huge readjustment for me. I felt very tired, I felt very grouchy, and it was just not a good time in my life, and my business definitely took a hit at that time. I could not focus on growing it. I just needed to allow myself to recuperate after work, because it was a big readjustment for me again. And yeah, I think that's something I want to consider even now that calligraphy is my full-time job. When there's periods of my life that maybe I have events going on, or I'm just really, really drained, to allow myself to take a step back. So for example, this week coming up, I actually have a lot going on personally, some exciting events, and I don't want to feel pulled away from that to work on my business. I really want to enjoy those moments in life. So I think what I learned from that is it's okay to take time away. I think particularly if you're watching this and calligraphy is a side hustle, it's okay not to work on your side business all the time. I have friends that are currently juggling calligraphy with their full-time job. And I keep reminding them that a full-time job is a full-time job. It's okay if you don't have the energy to work on something in addition to that. Returning to my 9 to 5 role also made me realize that I actually much preferred working on a business, and that I wouldn't be able to continue a 9 to 5 permanently, and that a business was definitely the route I wanted to go down. Number 4, jump first, work it out later. I guess this is something that I've always personally done. I'm a bit of a chicken. I will definitely procrastinate on things that make me uncomfortable. So the best way I found to actually push myself out of my comfort zone is to publicly commit to doing something. So when I launched my first workshop, I announced publicly that I was going to do it, and announced when I was going to be doing it, and then I worked everything out after. And you will get stuff done if you publicly commit, because there is kind of more to lose, because when people ask you how it's going, if you say, oh, I decided not to do it, and you do that on a regular basis, it reflects on you. So yeah, I publicly commit. I also did that with my Christmas calligraphy course. So I knew roughly what I wanted to do, but I started promoting it before I had all of the details planned, and it all got sorted. It was absolutely fine, and it's going really well so far. Taking leaps of faith like this has worked for me in the past, and that is kind of what nudged me to jump from my 9 to 5 to doing calligraphy full time. And I did this without having a full-time income. So some would describe it as a gamble, but I knew that I could work out the details and get a sustainable income long term. So I think sometimes you just need to take a leap of faith and work it out later. Number 5, I can't do everything. I definitely felt pressure to attempt to do everything in my business when I first launched. So for example, I invested a lot in materials for wedding calligraphy, even though I knew that deep down this wasn't something that I really wanted to do. I just felt that it was the done thing if you had a calligraphy business, and that would be missing sources of income if I didn't do it. But actually niching down has helped my business drastically is probably the better word to use there, because it meant that I could really focus down. I knew what I was offering customers, and they knew what I was offering as well. So it meant that my marketing was much clearer, my time was focused on one specific area, and it was just much smoother all round. This also meant that I started to feel comfortable turning down work and referring it to other calligraphers, and it kind of eased this mindset of every other calligrapher is a competitor. It made me realize that there's work like for all of us, and we need to share the workload out between us rather than trying to take it all for ourselves. Number 6 is stop comparing yourself to others. Now, I know that this is really difficult to do when you see these social media posts of everyone exceeding except for you. But what I've learned from making friends with other calligraphers is that it's not always as it seems. Now, people aren't intentionally trying to deceive you, but often people put their best selves online. So, for example, when I would see someone getting lots of wedding work, it might turn out that they're doing this work for their friends, and that's absolutely fine. But from someone that's worried about not getting enough work, it can feel as though, oh, they're absolutely nailing it. They've got all of the calligraphy work. I'm never going to have any work of my own. And it definitely kind of breeds insecurity when you're constantly looking on Instagram. But just know it really is not the full picture. I guess using myself as an example, I was promoting this calligraphy course that I just launched recently a lot. And I think people might see me posting regularly and it may seem as though I have it all together, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of anxiety going on. I wasn't sure whether I would make any sales. I did, but it's really scary. You really do not know what someone is feeling and what the context is behind their social media. So I guess it's kind of like a word of warning. Just be aware. Word of warning sounds ominous, actually. I guess just know that social media is not real life. Okay. Okay, that was part 1. I hope you found it helpful. Which learning did you connect to? Did you learn something from my learnings? Let me know down in the comments.